Good morning, everybody. How is everybody this morning?
Good morning.
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 Good morning.
Good morning.
Doing well.
Oh, been an eventful weekend.
Nothing happened.
Oh boy.
A couple of things happened.
My
Corn grew
girlfriend told me,
about a foot here.
my girlfriend
Corn grew.
said,
It did. It did. That's what we do. We watch corn grow. We do.
Is it a little faster than paint?
It's fast, and when it gets to
Watching
be
paint dry?
100 degrees, it goes pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, Mark, do you want to dive into today's start of a should be an interesting week?
See, look at that corn. Okay, let's get rolling. All right, nothing happened this weekend of substantial anything except the U.S. did bomb the Iranian nuclear facilities. And Trent and I were just talking, I think with that uh, escalation a little bit and retaliatory threats that you would have a little more uh, volatility in the market, but we're just kind of flat actually. Oils did spike up a bit, and now it's come back down to kind of flattish. So again, we haven't opened yet. News hasn't come out. There'll be more stuff coming out. Iran is threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz, which I think 10 or 15% of the oil goes through that strait. I think that would just escalate it, as I'm sure that those little patrol boats will probably be bombed out of the water if that happens. But just my thought, but doesn't seem that President Trump is fooling around with these guys. So on the economic report, PMI is coming out for manufacturing services, and we have existing home sales and a couple earnings still. I'm surprised, we're getting towards the end of the second quarter, which is the first quarter earnings. We have FactSet, commercial metals, which is CMC, and KB Homes coming out today. So there's still earnings, amazingly. Okay, so let me get rid of this one. And bring this down and share this screen. So every Sunday we come out and you can see our momentum trade. We put out 3 different lists. Momentum trades, we have some on here. You can go look at what they are, look at the charts at the time on Sunday. Then we do the under the 200s. So you can go look at the charts. It's over here in charts of interest. Okay. And then in the morning, I put out just swing trade potential setups. It has an asterisk by it. It was on last week's list. So it just continues over. So we wouldn't have really traded out, maybe, depending on how you trade. And we have the charts of those too. So go over and use that, as a base. You don't have to, they're not buy lists, they're just charts of interest that give you some ideas of where you might want to go. You may want to get into one, you may not. You can ask questions about it here on this channel. Okay, let's move on. And put this one up. Okay, I was looking at these just a little while ago, and I'm like, still kind of boring. Okay, this is the SPY, the SP 500 ETF Trust. We've just been kind of going sideways along resistance. Now we dropped under the 9, had a distribution. We're going to open up. Looks like just right on the 20, which is support. We'll see if this holds, or you get the 9 up next to resistance, and a lot of times you see that fade off. We've seen the oscillators fade off on the SPY. We go over to the Dow ETF, the Dow 30. We're seeing the same thing, except it's below the 200 now. We were talking about long-term trading. We do it in for long-term investment. We've done it on this channel, and we had a big discussion on it Friday in Kerry's channel. Again, you're under the 200. You're just playing with the 200 here. So, this is, if you're looking for a long-term investment to get into the Dow, it's not now until we get a substantial breakup or down. Otherwise, you would probably be out of this trade until you saw something different. But that's on a long-term investment. But on a swing trade, definitely below the 200, below the 9, got a little resistance right above you. And then the Qs, I mean, we're just seeing the same straight right along resistance. Now you see the 9 has hit the resistance. It's starting to roll over. Same with the oscillators. Again, we'll see what happens when we're going to open down a little below. This was as of 30 minutes ago, so who knows where we open. But anyway, little bit of the gold. You would think gold would pop way up, with what's happening, geopolitically. But again, there's the resistance. We've just been straight on gold. It's going to open right about at the 9, and 9 is right at resistance. It just oscillators are kind of rolling a little bit. Same old thing, even for gold and silver. Same kind of thing, sideways to down. We're going to open just a little bit higher, but oscillators are rolling even on silver. Bitcoin took a bit of a hit during the bombing. Okay, now you would expect that. I was just talking to Trent, with the fact that this trades 24/7. This is about the only market you can go trade on the weekends, and so you see some of the risk off. Right here, it bounced all the way down to the support level and then came back up. So now we're back into the middle range support level. When I look back at this, you're starting to see what could be a cup and handle pattern if you believe in patterns. So here's your cup, here's your handle. If this is true, then you would expect, based on this pattern, that you're going to see it bounce it and move up. If you believe in the cup and handle pattern, some people do, some people don't, but it certainly looks like it to me. It's in that classic kind of cup and handle pattern also. So just keep that in mind. But again, it's kind of had a trend down. Had a nice trend up. We're now back to about where, right in the middle of the second string. So again, it's Bitcoin. That's kind of get used to that. It's actually held up pretty well considering. Okay, let's go back. And let's look at video. Again, looks just like the Qs, the 9s rolling right up to the intermediate resistance level. Going to open up a little bit below. We got rolling. I mean, it just looks the same as the Qs. Meta, kind of the same. Almost, almost like Trent said last week, just don't even put a name up there. They just all look kind of the same. Tesla come down a little bit. It's below the resistance. It's come back up above the 9. It's above the 200. Something if you wanted to trade, you have a little bit on the top side, but still not much. Your oscillators are still negative, especially the MACD. So I'm not really seeing strength in the Mag 7 for sure. And look at Google. And Google took a dump below the 200 on Friday, and all the way down, and you can see we're just bouncing off the lower Bollinger Band in the 50. We're going to open up just a little bit below, and the oscillators have also gone negative on Google. Apple's actually, Apple's been in a downtrend for a while, and actually it's come back and it's hit the bottom of the Bollinger Band. We're in the sideways parallel pattern on the Bollingers. Got a little bit of a dip up. We're trying to get on the oscillators. Okay, we're still at 49, just a little under the 50, but we see a little bit of a, we'll see if this continues to trade above, the 9 today. But we kind of look for these bounces. We'll see with what's going on with the market if it does. But again, the Bollinger Band's right here. You got sell orders right above that, so there's really not much on the upside with Apple as far as I see. But it's the only encouraging chart so far that we looked at. Microsoft, it's come up. It's had a nice run. Look at that, real steady. It's come up on resistance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. You got the 9 coming up. Same kind of pattern we're seeing. Could it go up further? Potentially, but you got the Bollinger Bands converging. Same old. And you got MACD is crossing over negative also. Palantir, which again I thought would just take off with these wars, but again it kind of looks like the rest of the Mag 7, converging Bollinger Bands running along the resistance level. The 9's coming up, squeezing to see what's going to happen. Not much on the oscillators, just, indecision, basically. And then Netflix, the same. So not much excitement in the Mag 7s. When we look at some of our momentum stocks, you can go look at them. EQT has had a nice run. It's running right along the Bollinger Band. A little bit of rollover on the stochastic, and you got some sell orders right above it. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the outside of the Bollinger. So you may have one more, but then it'll probably pull within this Bollinger. So we might see a little bit of flattening out on the EQT. Here's your guys' favorite, which is just done awesome. So here's your core weave, which is, it's going to open up a little bit right along the upper Bollinger Band. So this one's just been pretty much a juggernaut. If you'd been able to get in back, at 41, we're sitting at 183 in change right now. So again, keeps rolling. So momentum, this has been the momentum play of the year, I think, from what I've seen. Talked about this a little bit. TSSI, another one. I like them when they trade between support and resistance. You have some sell orders up here at 24.64, but again, a nice momentum on this one. When we look at the volume's good. So there's a couple momentums. I have several more in the Discord. We look at the end of the 200. We still have Whirlpool in here. Now Whirlpool came up, has moved sideways. We still have +9 going up. Still doing okay on the oscillators. You got some sell orders above. If you're in this is where we put it in. So where was that? 83.03. We're at 92.98. So about $9 and change so far up. Always have a stop below to save your profits. Here's your support level. Okay, you might want to put it at that or a little bit below in case it comes down, pops it, and then you're out. Or you put it even lower at the 20. The profit margin won't be the same. But again, it's really up to your trading plan. IOMN we had from last week, just a nice slow run up. Watch out for resistance at 93.40. We have sell orders, of course. The upper Bollinger Band has been pretty good line of resistance also on this one. Ball's just playing with the 200, so we got to wait and see if this can get past the 200. If it can, then you got some sell orders right above that. But if it gets past this, we got to back test it. If we back test it, it has some room to run, but right now it's not showing me much. Let's just go back a year and see what Ball is. So Ball has been under the 200 for a long time. So if you're a long-term investor in Ball, this may be an opportunity to get back in if you follow Paul Tudor Jones. Let me just roll this back. You can see it's come down and used it as support before, and then when it dropped really bad, really on this earnings, and it hasn't made it back since. But again, you look for these if you're investing in a stock. This is about what you're looking for right here. That's coming back in above the 200, but it has to be sustainable. Okay, what else we got? Watch list, couple that we had still from last week. These will probably do well because of the oil. It'll come up for me. There we go. PAA is a pipeline. We got above the 200. So this is what we were talking about. Playing around the 200, got and stayed above it. Right along the Bollinger Band, you got sell orders up at 1922. This is a pipeline stock, not too exciting, but the oscillators are good, and this will follow whatever happens, with the oil market. And here's where we put it on the list. So it's gone up. It's gone up a bit. ExxonMobil. Again, put it on the list last week when it got above the 200 and maintained it, and then it popped up. We'll probably see this pop up again this morning. I haven't gone and looked at the pre-market, but I imagine it's going to go up with the oil prices going up. We'll see. But ExxonMobil was on the list last week as a swing trade. AMD has come up, made it past the 200. Again, if you're investors, you may be watching this and say, well, maybe this is time for a long-term investment, over the 200. If you're Paul Tudor Jones kind of deal, you got a lot of these opportunities we're finding where stocks are coming back above the 200. So if you're into that, that's something you'd be looking for. Oops. Little financial stock kind of going between the 9, and now the Bollingers are rising. You got some resistance at 63.91 SYF. Oscillators are kind of flattish to moving up a little bit. kind of a slow mover, but still makes the list. Looked at Reddit last week. Now Reddit is outside the Bollinger Band, so I'd expect that to pull back in at some point. But you have some room to run if you got into this. Here's another one above the 200, came up, didn't get back down, and now here you go. So, for long-term investors, this may be something you want to look at. Make sure you understand what Paul Tudor Jones has done and how he uses the 200. You may want to go to the weekly chart and see how that's doing, just to verify that you may have an uptrend. In fact, let's go to the weekly chart and see what's going on with Reddit. Yep, Reddit is closed above the 50-week. So that's a pretty positive sign too. So, for a long-term investment, this may be a time for Reddit. We'll go back to daily. And we'll go to I'm going to go to the 1 year. And let's see how this thing plays with the 200. That really didn't, it was way above the 200, came down, played with it sideways, came back up. We'll see. They have a high up here, at least on this chart, of about 224, but you got a lot of resistance above it too. But if you play the 200 right here, and that's what you're looking at, and you're just doing Paul Tudor Jones, there's a lot of stocks that if you want to be a long-term investor, that may be your trigger, but use your trading plan and your risk management plan. A couple others, there's a bunch on the Discord you can go look at. Crazy one. Let's look at Berkshire. We've been watching that. New York KB. This one here. Remember, we were looking. We're waiting. It's coming down. It's playing with the 200. I'm almost anticipating for this, since it came so close, that I'm going to start seeing it head up. We'll see with what's going on in the market, but I'm almost, if it can get above that 9, that'll be a pretty good signal for me that maybe it's time to put in a swing trade for me. Okay, but I'm still going to watch the oscillators. They're not quite there yet. We're only at 36 on the RSI, and we're still under on the MACD. So I want to make sure that those give me some confirmation. But we got some room here. But again, it's did the same thing back here. So the 200 has been really good place to bounce for Berkshire Hathaway. So not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy this stock. I'm just telling you it's interesting to me. You're seeing a lot of this. We were just seeing the ones that popped above it. This is one that bounces off of it. So just, I'm still in a hold pattern here, just waiting to see what happens. UNH, I don't know. I keep saying I don't think I can. These Bollinger Bands could get any closer, but I think they might cross. I mean, that'd be the first time in the history of the world. But unbelievable, just sideways. Look how long this thing could run. But again, I'm going to keep it on the list because if it ever does bounce, I mean, it's one of the largest healthcare companies, around. So we'll see, and if it goes, it has a ways to run, but it's just not there yet. Just got to keep watching. If you're a McDonald's fan, like Paul says, the fries are good, and I like the fries too. Here's what happened. We played on the 200, got below it, and now we're in a bearish pattern down below the 200, and it's just, here's one. Let's go back and look at this one. If you'd use the 200 as your long-term, let's see, you wouldn't have gotten out there because it didn't go under. So that 200 was played pretty well here. So we would have gotten in, let's say here, let's give it 287.55, and you would have gotten out 301.50. So, 20 some bucks or 17 bucks or 12 bucks or whatever, but you could have swung it, but that's long term. So you're saying, okay, I'm above the 200. I'm going to stay in. So now you're out if you're long term, and you've been out way back here on a swing trade. So sorry, Trent, it is Monday. I always take an extra 5 minutes of your time, but I know you're relaxing in Colorado with those deer horns or sticks behind you and nice pictures.
So I'm going to hit upon volatility today because we had a bit of a change in the volatility structure this past Friday. As I've mentioned in the past, our Friday represented $4.3 trillion in nominal option expiration. And what that does is that expiration now leaves market makers at a position where prior to Friday for a number of weeks, actually, probably 2 or 3 weeks, they were suppressing volatility. So it allowed the market to rise higher from the April lows. And then we got into a sideways. And as Mark pointed out on the S&P 500, the Dow, and the NASDAQ, along with a lot of the other mega cap companies, it just has been moving sideways. And so Friday represented that basically the taking of the leash off of volatility. And today, volatility should open up this morning right around 20, a little bit up earlier this morning, but has come down a bit. But we're seeing this chop. We're in the chop bucket again, but going back to Friday the 13th, all throughout last week. So with this option expiration, volatility is now allowed to float. It's allowed to expand if it needs. So depending on headlines, depending on any news out of any of the major companies that move markets, you could see volatility explode to the north, or you could see it go to the south. And really, if you think about it, over the last, well, if we went back to May 9th, market makers have controlled volatility and how much volatility was in the market. Today, because of Friday's expiration and those market makers unwinding their hedges to keep volatility neutral, now you and I, the retail investor, the institutional investor, is now more in control of volatility. And that can push stocks higher, and it can push them lower. One thing I've mentioned on the 3-month average of the VIX is we're coming up on July 2nd in a couple weeks. The 3-month will drop this big candle here. That happened on March 31st, and that will drop out of the averages, which will bring back in these volatility trading funds that adjust their books of business based on the VIX and underlying volatility of different stocks and that kind of thing. So this brings them back into the mix. And that can be a good thing because that means they could take on more risk. They could put more risk on, which means stocks go higher, or they could become very conservative again, even more so than they are. And that could drive stocks lower. So that is something that's in the mix as well. One thing I am following here is this is the candlesticks are the daily VIX numbers, and then the yellow line here is the 3-month average. And so what I'm looking at is here is this breakthrough the on a daily basis of the VIX through the 3-month average. We saw that on Liberation Day, the day after Liberation Day, the volatility took off and started moving higher and went through our number of different buckets for a number of days, 3 or 4 days, and then started to subside. And that's where market makers came back in and started to suppress volatility again. And that's where you got that bottom in the S&P, and you had that V kind of movement up. So I'm watching over here is I'm watching this daily VIX number and this 3-month average number. And what I'm looking for is a crossover to the north side of the daily VIX through the 3-month average. And that would tell me there's more of this volatility that could come back in the market and bring stocks back down, a retracement or some sort of, something could come in to effect. Maybe it's the clustering of volatility 3-month average rolling off on the second. Then you've got Chinese US tariff. I think it's on the July 9th. That agreement to sort of, what was the word, postpone the tariffs rolls off as well. So we could see volatility really start jumping, which if we start seeing volatility jump like we saw back in April, that would be a sign that stocks are going to go lower. So we're in this sort of mix where we need to start like thinking, where are our stocks move on a moving average basis? Where are they how are they playing out overall. Mr. Barry asked a question about um, this. Oh, hold on, I gotta share the screen with you. But moving the tell sheet averages and the moving averages, and he pointed out that on Alvotech or ALVO, on Kerry's tell sheet, it scores a 78. And on my sheet, it is trading below the 15 or the trade trend, which is 15-day moving average. It's trading below the intermediate trend, which is my line in the sand. And it's trading below the 200. And the question was, do you buy it at this point? And I think this is where you have to create your own investment policy statement. And that is combining the fundamentals, which is what Kerry's tell sheet is all about. He scores it as 78, which is a strong number fundamentally. But what the market is telling me is they don't like it. And so they're trading, it's trading downward. And I'll show you a chart of it here. Bear with me. Let's see, December. Click that. Okay, so this is ALVO. And as you can see, these red lines here represent buyer sellers, where we've seen selling in the past, which creates resistance. And we're trading below the intermediate trend line, which is that yellow line. The trade trend line is that white line. We're trading below that. Looks like it opened about 10, 11 cents lower than we closed on Friday, sort of even further down. And we're trading below the 200. This is not a very old stock. So this is your 200 day, excuse me, this is a weekly chart. Let me go to a daily chart. So you're seeing the 200 is up here where resistance has been in the past. And then you have the trade trend is below the trade trend, is below the intermediate trend. Looks like it's going to open about 10 cents, 11 cents lower today. So when I look at this from my approach to intermediate to long-term investing, this tells me that the momentum of this stock is going south. Fundamentals may be great according to Kerry's tell sheet, but my policy says, my process says, if these trends are broken, if it's broken below the intermediate, then this is not a place I want to be entering this stock because there's more pressure to the downside in this stock. So to answer your question, for me, this is a stock I would not be buying right now. For others, they may see it as opportunity. Kerry may see it as opportunity. But this is where you have to really sit down and go, what do I truly believe in? Where is my process lining up? Is it a combination of things? Fundamentally, it may be a strong company according to Kerry's tell sheet, but market is telling me that it is not very well liked right now, and they see more downside potential in it. And so for me, I would not own this stock at this point. So I hope that helps a little bit when you're using the trend averages for the tell sheet. And that's what that is based on. It's based on moving averages. It's based on volatility of those underlying stocks. And so it's very much a mathematical, and that's something you have to weigh out. You can always have a quantitative and a qualitative approach to your investment process. And I would encourage that because it gives you a weighting of looking at how a company's earnings are growing, how their earnings per share are growing, how their margins are growing. Are they taking on enormous debt just to stay alive? Those kind of things. So that's part of building that process. But for me, that stock, it's a no-go, no bueno. I'm out. I'll wait for it to cross back over that intermediate trend line before I make a decision to ever own that stock. So I hope that helps, Robert. All right, so let's open it up to the floor.
Trent, can I make a
Questions,
comment on
We've
comments?
got some charts to look at too. So
Trent,
Okay,
before
Dave.
you leave Alvo, can I make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
On the daily chart, you see that green candle, the last candle we just had on Alvo? That is a total engulfing candle. That is as bearish a candle, or I mean, as bullish a candle as you're gonna get. Completely engulfed the previous 2 days, which is signaling the bottom may be in on this. So,
I think the key word there is maybe.
yep.
And I think
So
that
you and
that's
I,
where,
you and I will discuss this in a week. We'll see who's right.
okay. Well, here's, it's not about being right. It's a matter of what your process is, David. If you're
Yeah.
looking at golfing candles and that kind of thing, that's your process. And you may be buying in at a great price, in the next couple of days. That's your process. For me, if it's putting below that intermediate trend line, it's a no-go. That's my process. And I think that's my message to Robert there is you got to build that process. You've got to build that and have conviction in that process. If you don't, and you're just fluttering around, you're going to end up getting hurt.
I think you're absolutely right,
I
Trent.
do respect what David is saying because
Yeah,
that is a strong indication of a
but
potential turn.
it's only one. Okay.
Only
I mean,
one.
I look at that, David. I understand it is an engulfing candle. It really is. And that is a strong indicator. So then I look at my other gauges and I say, well, the MACD is still negative. Okay. The stochastic has come up a little, and we're still under the 50 on the RSI, and you have the 50-day moving average to get past, and you've got a diving 9-day moving average, the way I look at it, if you're trading it. So those are other things that I look at when I would make a decision on that instead of just one. But you have your own process, like Trent said, and Paul has his own process, and Margaret has her own process, and everyone does. So there's not a right or a wrong. It's just a matter of what you're looking at.
Well, it's take into account also this is that big wall of resistance at the 200. So if you're a swing trader or a trade, trader or a short-term trader, this could be a great opportunity. To David's point, it could be a pivot, it could be a move higher up through maybe the intermediate trend, but that 200 could become resistance. I'm looking at it from perspective of beyond 62 days, more of an intermediate to long-term perspective. And I think that's what Kerry's looking, he's looking at like 100 years from now. So,
Do you know what the biggest threat to this stock is? No volume. Friday was 268,000, 143 the day before, 81,000 before, 105. You're going to have big spreads between your bid and ask. Okay, so if you get in this as a trade, you could get, and you want to get out, you might not be able to.
Mark, could you hit a explanation of bid and ask for those people who don't understand how that works?
Okay, a bid is what somebody's willing to pay for a stock. Okay, so when you go in and you're putting in an order, you will say, okay, maybe it's this stock right here, Alba. And let's say we're trading right at 935 where it closed. You may say, okay, I want to buy this. I'm going to go back and try to get it, where it opened the day before at 920. So you put in 920 on yours, and that's your bid. However, the actual bid could be higher or lower than that. Okay, that's the market bid. So market makers sit there and they look at bid and ask. Okay, and on a slow moving stock, you could have a bid of somebody wanting to buy at $9, and you can have an ask at 10.20. That big spread, $1.20 spread between there is what happens on a slow moving, low volume stock. Now on something like NVIDIA or something that just trades, you will see NVIDIA will be at, I'm just going to make it up, $100 and 101.25 and 101.26. The bid is right, they're right within a penny of each other, and that's how they go all the way up and down. So you have a market, okay? You have a flow in your market. And so that there's always going to be a market where you can get out. Whereas in Alvo, you may be $1.20, $2 away from where someone's willing to buy it or sell it, and you're stuck with it. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're trading it, that you really want to watch volume, and the volume is not there on this one.
Especially when it comes to if volatility accelerates. So if volatility moves into the F bucket, let's hypothetically say, and you have a low volume stock, that bid and ask may just be so wide. And that's where people really get sort of taken out to the woodshed, is they buy low volume stocks, and that volume, that bid ask widens out on a downtrend, and they're trying to get out. Even with a stop loss in there, that stop loss could be triggered, and you could be, it could be, say, hypothetically triggered at 920, but you end up executing at 820 because of that bid ask spread could be widened out so much based on the volatility of it. So that's where understanding the volume of a stock really comes into play, and how that can work for you and work against you.
Yeah, so watch that, because that's something that we kind of forget about once in a while is volume, and it's just not there on this one for trading. So if you're an investor, maybe, but like Trent said, hasn't been able to get past this 200, and it's lightly traded. These are usually things that a swing trader will stay away from because there's just not enough volume to make it worth it. And that's why you watch these day traders. They like the high volume, small amount numbers where it just goes up and down. You watch that chart, it's going up and down the whole time. This one would not. It would sit there maybe an hour before maybe someone would, well, not an hour, maybe let's say 10 minutes before you get a buy or a sell on it, or a trade. So just got to be careful in these. I'm going to do a couple. Some people wanted UPS. UPS really has done nothing. It's under the 200. You've got this sell order level that's been hit and sold off. You're sideways moving. There's just no volatility, and as you can see by the Bollinger Bands that have been straight and parallel longer than United Health. Let's see how far it goes back. Okay, so yeah, it's been this way all the way back to April. Okay, so until something breaks out above on a trade, nothing that I'm interested in. You look at the oscillators, and you're under the 200 for kind of a Paul Tudor Jones. I want to invest in this. It's just not there. And let's go look at FTX since they're pretty close. I haven't looked at this one. And FTX is kind of showing the same kind of pattern. It's kind of moving up a little, but you're just not seeing it move decisively on a trade. And again, you're under the 200 on FTX too.
Didn't the founder of FedEx pass away this weekend?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Changed
Tom
the
Hanks used to
game in a
work
big
for him.
way.
Yeah, Tom Hanks used to work for him. He was lost on an island, and he got him back and got all his payback.
That's right. They made a movie about him.
They did, yeah. Pepsi was another one. This one looks just like what we just looked at. Okay. Yeah, see, just almost the same. Just sideways. And I got Pepsi. I'm just watching Pepsi, just like I'm watching United Health, because it's just going along in intermediate support, and it just can't. And here's resistance. It's got to get a bump up, but then you got the 50. But Pepsi's a good company too. It's just the chart is just sideways and consolidating. So the oscillators are not looking good. It wouldn't be anything I'd want to trade right now. It's something I'd watch, and certainly nothing I'd invest in. I'm just going to follow Paul Tudor Jones way of investing. I just wouldn't do it. AMD, someone brought up, it's on our watch list for a watch list this morning. So what we like about AMD is it got above the 200, maintained the 200, and then now is following the upper Bollinger Band. Okay, so here's another one, potential for if you're an investor and you said, I've been waiting to get into AMD, then I'd want to go back out, take a look. Okay, so we've been out of this. If you were investing in this, we've been out of this, literally since October of 24 at 166.25, and now you can see we come back in. Let's see how long this thing runs above the 200. Oh, now see, this has had a pretty good run above the 200. Last time it went tested, came back down, crossed it back over meaningfully at 107.83, come all the way up. At any of these times, depending on your plan, your investment plan, you can get out. You don't have to wait for the 200. But if you follow Paul Tudor, you would have got out right about in here at 154. And again, you got in at 108. So that would have been a good one. Now you're just waiting. And again, we're just waiting to see You know, is this one that gets us out and gets us back as an investor? So you can swing them or you can invest in them, you know, based on some technicals. And this one's the easiest for, you know, this 200 for people who just want to do a daily chart and not trade every day. You know, you get in swing trade wise, this has some room to run up too. So yeah, that was on our watch list this morning. APLD, somebody wanted to look at APLD. This one had a nice run. Boom, hit resistance after it pounced by it a little bit. Bollingers are kind of rolling over. The 9, look at the 9 came up, hit resistance, started coming down. That's when we see the downward trend. We hit a little bit of support at the 20. We'll see if it keeps moving down. The oscillators are not looking good. You are above the 200. Okay, so you might have gotten in. And right here, you're like, okay, am I in or am I out? Let's say you just didn't get in till here. You're just about even if you got in there, you know, as an investor. Let me go back. We'll look at 2 years back, see how this thing runs above the 200. This one's a little more choppy around the 200. Up, down, up. Yeah. So then you might want to go to the 50-week moving average if you're going to invest in this. But right now, as a swing trade, it's not something I'm interested in just because the oscillators are off, that the moving averages are moving down, the short terms, and it's below resistance. It hit resistance and now it's heading down. So the momentum is down. EL, this was on our watch list this morning. Again, above the 200, 2 days in a row, came down, tested it, back up. So EL, you know, you got support at the 200, resistance at the upper Bollinger. You got some sell orders at 79.89. We closed at 75.19. So again, this is a nice trend up. You start to see the oscillators of moving up. Let's go check this for a long term on the 200, just as an easy check. Maybe. Oh, here we go. Ooh, this one's been under a little bit. Oh man, it has a hard time getting above the 200. So, and maintaining it. Now, see, we have gotten above it before and couldn't maintain it. So we are going all the way back. Wow.
Okay.
Wow. My 200 doesn't even go that far. Oh, right here. Let's just say the last time we got, see, it didn't even spend much time above the 200 there. So, you know, as a swing trade, it's looking good, but as a, you know, long term, you might want to check and make sure your 200 is still trending down. The 50 has come up. So, because you have this nice long trend, got some sells, 79.89. Okay, so as a swing trade, that's why it's on our list. And that's all I have so far. Is there anything else out there, Trent?
Can you look at ES? This was brought up, I think, a week ago or so. It's an energy play.
Eversource.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to, looks like it continues to go down.
Again, broke it. It fought the 200, broke it, and now we're coming back down. We'll see. Got a couple levels of support coming together. Should be the 200 and the 50. Oscillators still don't look very good on this one. So, sweet.
Paul brought up HIMS down
Yes.
24% pre-market.
Did they have
A falling knife.
They
Was
lost.
it-
Have earnings?
They lost the contract with Norvo Nordisk.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a biggie. So
See, this would technically be a pretty good swing until, you know, unknown market conditions such as that what you just said, David, can turn a nice trade into a disaster.
Yep.
Overnight.
Yep. It's one that I definitely, if I'm interested in it, I'd definitely watch it for a day or two and see if it levels out.
Yeah. Because it had a nice run. Look at this. Once it got above the 200 and the 9, it took off. And kind of tried to make a comeback, but again, just couldn't hit resistance. Yeah, you know, these are the kinds, like David says, you put them on your list, you just kind of watch them and see what they do. You know, especially if you follow them. Could be a good buying opportunity at some point in the future, but always have a plan. Just don't trade by the seat of your pants, or you're going to end up burning your pants off. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. It's been a long week, long hot weekend. PG. Someone wants to look at PG. All right, let's look at PG. Okay. PG. Ooh, now what I like about Procter & Gamble is it's come down and hit this support. I like watching these. It's hit it 2 days. It likes this support level. Look at this. So I'd be waiting for something like this. It's going along. The 9 comes back down. You get above it, and the oscillators turn on you. We're not there yet. I'm certainly. Is this on my list? I think it's on my watch list for up and coming. Yeah, it is. But yeah, I like it. This level of support is as strong as this level of resistance. Okay, so when I see it come down and bounce off this, and then the 9 comes down, just like it does up here, it comes up and rolls this way, the 9 will come down and roll that way. And then you can have a nice run. So PG, potentially we could get, depending on your trading plan, mine says don't get in yet. But if we get down here, get above the 9, turn these oscillators, you have another run potentially just like this. And that's what we're dealing. We're dealing in probability.
What about
Hey.
the volume on that, Mark?
Okay, hold on. See, you're a good listener. 16 million, 6 million, 7 million, good volume. I kind of like to have
Okay, how do
least,
you,
I like to have at least 750,000 on average per day on volume. I'll go down to 500, but not much lower than that. But this is
how do
good
you
volume.
decide? How do you decide that? I mean, like your volume, is it different for each one?
What do you mean each one?
I guess like each stock, I don't know much about the volume. I'm trying to learn. So is that like to me, when I look at it, it looks like it's bumped a little bit just in this last
It did.
series.
It went up. Okay, we had from let me expand this a little bit so we can see it. So yeah, that's kind of unusual from where it was. We had a bump up here too, and then the next day it came back. So yeah, you had a bump, but then I look at other things. That's one gauge, just like we talked about the engulfing candle. So then as a trader,
Yep.
do you use one gauge or do you use several? I use 12, 10 gauges. So I've seen it bounced off the 20 or off the intermediate support. I like that. Still under the 9. So that's a negative. The oscillator, the MACD is down. That's a negative. This one's flat, but coming up. That's a medium for me. We're at 39 on the momentum indicator, the RSI. I like it at 50. So there's 2 out of 3 negatives, 1 medium. Volume's up. Downtrending 9, downtrending 20, 2 more negatives for me. So that's why I just watch it. The volume's just one indicator for me, but something happened that maybe the people saw the same thing we saw and trying to jump in and say, okay, it's hit this 2 days in a row. I'm going to hop in, and
Okay, got it.
And hope that it keeps going. But for me, hope's not a strategy. So I want more indicators to turn in my favor because I don't like risking my money on one indicator. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Sounds
thanks
good.
for the
Yes, it
question.
does. Thank you.
That's an excellent
Hey.
question.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Take a look at CRCL. This showed up on my Trading View most volume list on Friday.
CREL?
VL.
Yeah.
No, excuse me, CRCL. Charlie, Roger, Charlie, Leroy.
CRCL?
Yeah.
What
It's a brand new, but it's related to stablecoin
Oh, that's a
and
circle.
payment systems.
How do you evaluate that?
This is circle though. I mean, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11
Oh, it's
trading
brand new.
days on this. 11 trading
Yeah.
days. This is the
It-
stablecoin company.
Right. And I'm not saying this, it showed up on my on the Trading Views most volume day up there with NVIDIA and a couple others, and I thought, whoa, this is interesting. But it looks like it's probably come up against resistance here soon.
No, this is where it's going to open. It's still got to go higher, at least as of a half hour ago. So
Okay.
this is definitely momentum. People are chasing this, because it's stablecoin. They just passed it in the Senate. It has to go through the House still. But yeah, it just depends on your risk management, your risk style. Me, I
Yeah.
like stablecoin. I like the whole crypto and how it relates to AI. I like the fact that I believe that we're moving into a new financial system utilizing coins and stable coins and blockchain for transmissions and transparency and security. I think we're moving that direction. JP Morgan has their own coin. All the banks are looking at their own coins. You look at Amazon and Google, or Amazon and Costco and Walmart are looking into their own coins to take out Visa and MasterCard, so they're not getting charged millions by Visa and MasterCard for transactions as a third party. They can just do it themselves for pennies on the dollar. Okay. Visa and MasterCard understand that that's happening. They're trying to get into the stablecoin kind of market. So it's going to be as exciting as AI, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think there's a
Okay.
lot of changes in the mix. Bob, you're wearing the black shirt today. What does that mean?
Bob's here from Florida.
Yeah, I'm in Florida. I'm here. I'm just soaking up what's happening in the world right now. Trying to understand if Iran is gonna shoot back, right? If shoot back, I'm just curious what everybody's thoughts are. I have my thought already, but what everybody's thoughts are if they retaliate and we end up shooting back more or dropping more bombs. What happens to the market? My thoughts are the market falls apart and takes a dip. So
I think traditionally war has been good for the markets. Long term.
yeah,
Yeah.
long term.
Yeah.
So if we're swing trading and investing, I mean, I do a lot of different things, but my question is, if they start dropping bombs, I mean, they didn't do anything last night, which was a good thing, for the markets. But what happens if they start dropping bombs?
I think my bigger concern is that these cells, sleeper cells, are in the United States get activated. I think these guys, I mean, they're a very supportive group of terrorists, and I think there's a lot of hatred towards the United States. And I think the past 4 or 5 years has opened the door for a lot of these groups to come into the United States. And for an event like what we saw over the weekend, there could be more retaliation on a
Okay.
on our own soil versus in the Middle East. That's my biggest concern right now.
Hey, Bob, I've got a neighbor of mine who's a general in the Air Force. And he told me that those bombs were designed exactly for that purpose. They started working on those years ago. And he told me that he thought the bombing would basically be over as far as the United States is concerned. The Iran will rattle as long as they're not being rattled. Once they're rattled by the US, they will stay quiet for a while because they know they can't compete. They're not stupid. So they're gonna stay quiet, I believe, and let this thing de-escalate, because when no one's watching them, that's when they're dangerous. When someone's watching them, they're gonna get their butts kicked, and they know.
I understand that those bombs are made for precision hits. I understand that. But as Trump left the door open saying, okay, let's have peace now, we're done. Iran is not that smart. So I don't think they're going to come to the table. I think they're going to hit back at Israel and possibly, Iraq, our bases in Iraq and other locations. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it does happen, my question is what's going to happen to the market? As a precaution, I'm trying to decide that now if I'm going to start selling off some of my positions. And that's really where I'm at right now.
I would stick to your plan, whatever your plan of investing or trading is, because whether it's a war or it's a shortage of or a tariff or whatever, we're always going to have this. Like I said, when I was listening to Powell last week, he talked about uncertainty all the time in the market. I'm like, the market's always uncertain. When has the market ever been certain at all?
Oh, I agree with you. It's uncertain. But, like they say, Mark, everybody has a plan until they're punched in the face, right?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
a
I mean, I'm
Mike
just sticking to
Tyson quote.
I'm sticking to what
When you're
I
punched in the
do.
face, your plan changes.
If I were, and we have some oil stocks on our list, and that's because the charts show, but oil, we could have peace tomorrow and everyone's happy and oil goes back down to 60, or
Listen, I don't believe we're gonna have peace. But now you bring up a whole nother subject. On the subject of oil, that's gonna hit people's pockets very quickly as gas starts to climb, which is gonna further push us into recession, the recession that we're already in. Okay. And as that $70 barrel goes up further, I'm assuming that Trump's going to turn around, to Saudi Arabia and say, you guys need to pick up production to lower these numbers. I can guarantee there's probably some conversation going on about that already. But, this whole escalation is not good for the existing economy the way it stands right now. Powell is not reducing interest rates, and he's not going to. And he's hanging his hat on tariffs. Meanwhile, tariffs haven't shown anything in the numbers yet. I'm assuming they will eventually, but at this time they're not. And we've hit the 2%, and we're about to go below that 2% inflation number.
yeah, I mean, can't disagree. I think though, the other thing that you have to think about is that the domestic production with the new administration is less regulated and more eager to pump oil. And we have the ability to turn the pumps on faster than we did a year and a half ago.
I don't know about us ourselves because we're just, since Trump got in, we're just starting to get back everything that the Biden administration destroyed, that he did the first time, where we were pumping our own oil and we were making money on it. So I think it's only 5 months now. I don't think that they're there yet with that. But I hear where you're coming from, but I'm just putting up there, I'm starting to look at, do I change my position? Do I wake up to bombs dropped in Israel again? That concerns me. I think that the market will will take a drop immediately.
I think it's interesting that we had bombs drop over the weekend and we're basically flat in the open in 44 seconds.
It was
I would have thought it would go. I was like you. I'd have thought it'd be down 500 points on the Dow. But it's
I
not.
didn't think so. I thought it would work. As when I heard it was only down 2%, I said, "Oh, that'll work its way out."
Well, I knew that, yeah. But
right?
I was talking
But
Saturday night.
But I felt that if Iran, which I'm happy they did not, but if Iran retaliated, that market would have dropped that 500 because that would have been a confirmation. Okay, it's not over.
I'd have to ask, why didn't they retaliate, Bob? Number one, is it because
Right.
they have a plan, or is it because they can't? They're running out of missiles.
No, they probably have a couple of thousand more missiles according to what they're saying. And I would say to you that they're making plans. Now, if they come to the table, then things will change. But they haven't come to the table, and they're saying they're leaving all options open. So, one only has to think, what's the best way for me to protect my portfolio and not lose my gains for this year?
What,
Because we will lose them in a short.
what would happen? What would happen to Iran if they eliminated that Ayatollah? Would they give up? Would the people finally say, okay, we're free, we can rise up? And I don't know.
Well, I think that that's in discussions already, that that they're looking for new leadership there. The people will make that decision, I guess. But, this guy's been in there for a very long time, and maybe things need to change. And the US, supposedly, they're saying that they're not looking for that, but they're looking for a change.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'm just.
No, it's a valid issue. I mean, that's what's been driving the market. We don't even talk about tariffs anymore, do we?
No, and tariffs isn't it? Well, we don't talk about a lot of things. We don't talk about the great, beautiful, big bill, right?
Mm-mm.
That needs to get passed.
I said,
There's
we are like kids the kids at a soccer game.
these are like
Little kids that play soccer, they don't hold their positions. They all chase the ball all around the entire field, and the only two that really stay are the goalies. But none of the kids, and that's what I feel we look like.
I don't know. I just don't want to get caught with my pants down.
No?
That saying, with the tide goes out, you find out who have swimming suits and who don't,
Yep.
Well,
All right. Well, the market's open and looks like it's pretty subdued. So
it is. Yeah, pretty flat.
More to come.
I think
But,
everybody's waiting to see what really happens. I think there's a lot of questioning. What is going to come out of this?
I think the market's waiting to see if your pants come down or not, Bob.
They might get scared.
I know they will at some point when you go out on that beach and you're out there on that sand. They will.
The beach is beautiful, man.
It is beautiful.
Amazing yesterday.
Yeah.
Trent, when we're going to
All
see some mountain biking videos of you?
I'm actually gonna go out here in about an hour. So
you enjoy your ride down. You're taking the lift up, or you're riding up?
Oh no. We're at about 8,000 feet above sea level. So oxygen is very thin.
Very thin.
So we're gonna ride more of a moderate ride today and just get acclimated. And then tomorrow I'm gonna do a big loop, about 20-mile loop that's at a higher altitude. And it's one of those you go up and you come down. So it's a lot more down
So
than
you got to
up.
climb it.
Yeah, but that's part of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll shoot some video and share it with y'all.
All right.
All right. Hey, you all have a great day. Thank you again for all your support and your participation. These calls are getting really good. I think beyond just trading stocks, it's getting into what really moves markets. And that's the part I love about all this. So thank you all again for participating. I will get the email right based on the time zone. I know I just got a bunch of texts saying I just got the 5-minute warning. And I'm like, great. So I do apologize, but I will get that fixed today. So y'all have a great day. Thank you again. Always live loud. See you.
Take care.
Yeah, see you guys. Have a good day.
Bye.